All right, folks, good evening. Welcome to Barry and Mike's Model Railroad Tech Show. We are a proud part of the YouTube Model Builders community. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Tonight we'll be discussing a little bit about some building and lighting techniques. So it should be rather interesting. We've got a few different things to show you. Got my pal Andy here with me so he can add some fuel to the fire. Never forget, folks, YouTube Model Builders is your source for free model railroad information. We have our free online e-magazine, which just came out, the whole issue about rust and grime and weathering. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have our live chat presentation hangouts, such as you are in here. And then we also have the YouTube Model Builders live show, which was just this past weekend. And on Wednesday nights now, we have Chris Healy of MRL Trains working on our Arduino workshop series. So that definitely is something that you folks should tune into and check out what Chris has got going on. He did an intro to it, and now he's going to start doing a workshop type thing, showing different projects off and everything. So I think it'll be something well worth your time. So, how you doing tonight, Andy?
We're getting along. It's not hardly Friday yet, but
it feels
we'll make it there.
It feels like Friday for me, my friend. As soon as I'm done here, I'm going straight to bed because I gotta get up early in the morning, pack my stuff, and off to Amherst till Sunday night.
Oh, that is like Friday for you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I came home, the car was acting up this morning, all kinds of stuff. So it was a fun day so far. But hopefully we got a little hour to do here. We'll show you a few things. So got some couple different houses and stuff to show here that we can work on and show you my favorite kind of LED lighting. The one thing I was going to show you I could not find in the hellhole of my model railroad room. I bought a kit from it was Microluminaria, my friend Bill Sartor. It was a kit with a jig to make gooseneck lights.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
a little
nice.
metal block with pegs in it, and he has thin tubing with it and a rod you put down the tubing to bend it. So when I get a chance, I'll look that up and show it to everybody. And he also has this really neat backlit sign kit. I'll give everybody a description of it if I can find it. I'll show it to everybody as well. So let's get into some modeling on the bench here. Let me bring out my camera. And if you have anything you want to show, Andy, just let me know, and I'll switch over to you.
Sure thing.
All right, there we go. We got our bench view up. So, got several buildings here. Little laser wood kits I've picked up from the Fine Scale Expo. I'll show you some of my thoughts on about going lighting these things and such. This one was both these. This one was from Railroad Kits, and this one was Palmer Ice from Doug Foscali's company, Foscale Limited. And this was a custom kit for the expo last year. And just to throw a little interest in there, got some old Bachman Plasticville for my S-scale layout. I'll show you what I've done, sort of lighting that up. So nothing too hard to do tonight. So what I started out with here, move my computer out of the way so I can get over to the bench here. I had these old Bachman Plasticville kits for years and years that my grandfather had given me. So we all know, we just stick them together like this, you know, nothing fancy, but they're not all that great looking, but there's a lot you can do with these. And what I did is I just took some thin poster board, just like this. Then I went and bought some paper, but it was like the stuff that women use for scrapbooks, or guys use for scrapbooks. and glued it on here. And then after I cut this to shape, and just take it and put it down inside here like this. I had to do a lot of fitting and finagling to get this to go in here the way I want it. But it came out pretty nice, actually.
Did you lay those parts out on the cardstock prior to assembly?
No, I actually took it and measured it. And then what I did is I cut the cardstock, put it in here, and then I drew the window outlines with a thin, like a mechanical pencil. That way, and then I went back and cut them out. And then what I did is I took a piece here for the roof, and I cut 3 small holes in it. Get rid of the spider there. So now we have a little 3-piece LED strip light. So this one I have it designed so it'll fire up off of a 9-volt battery. Just like that. So turn this light down. There you can see the lights. And then just take this and put her down in there like that. And let me see if I can bring the camera on where you guys can see it a little bit better. There you go. And if you look in close, it's hard to tell like this, but you can see the wallpaper in there and everything. So it actually makes it a little bit decent looking, you know?
Well, it blocks the quarters. You get a lot of side benefits. It blocks the quarters out, which is, often quite a problem.
Yeah, exactly, you know? And let me grab the lid here and put the lid on it. I gotta get it the right way. But I think this, when I came with this idea, it came out really nice. So there you go. You know, once you put the lid down right, you can even see the light on the lid, especially when you're standing above it. And it makes it look like a nice looking house. And you can put dividers in between so that, you know, you can put the light in different rooms, etc. So, like, I could take this, let me pull this off. I could put a wall here and put a different light here, another light here. Or like we're going to talk about in a future show, how can I control these lights? You know, so that, you know, one light comes on in a room at a time to make it look like it's lived in. Now, I experimented a while back using Christmas lights, these little LED type lights for the icicle lights. Don't like them too much. The problem is because of the shape of the LED, it doesn't focus the light right. There's regular LEDs out now that look like regular 3mm types that I may experiment with in the future, but right now I had those on hand. But for bigger buildings, it's nothing like strip LEDs like this. They're nice and easy to you know, wire up. They're inexpensive as the devil from China. You can get them off of eBay for like $5 a reel. So I can light this puppy up.
And light a whole layout off from a $5 reel.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I have to strip these wires a little more. There we go. Yeah. So these are nice and handy. And you can get them in all different kinds of colors, like, you know, warm white, cool white. Like Troy showed us, you could use them for layout lighting on his layout, like Andy mentioned. And he used the RGB ones to simulate, like, dawn, you know, coming up in your neighborhood.
Yeah, what he had done, well, he went for the blue and a warm and a cool, and he kind of intermixed them for layout lighting.
Yeah.
But really, what I was saying is you could take a kind of more what I was referencing is other than layout lighting, which is, you know, they're not always perfect for layout lighting. There's cases where they are, cases where they're
Right.
not. But structures, you could buy a roll of them and chop them up so much that you could light 40 or 50 buildings off a $5 roll.
Oh yeah,
because you could chop them up and use them in short bits, obviously, like you're doing.
yeah. See, here's what I have. This is the heavier cardstock paper that I got for the buildings, for the walls. This is like a gold metallic type paper, but it's got like a weave pattern to it. And so it's real, they're inexpensive, like 99 cents for the sheet. And I can get a couple of buildings out of it, especially in O scale. This is the striped sheet that's in the building that I just showed you. So this makes great little wallpaper for your building. It's hard to get it in the smaller scales because they don't make the stripes as small, or small enough, I should say. So, I mean, you might be better off looking for wallpaper patterns online that you could print and scale down. So, what did I do with that other piece I had I was going to use? Let's see what's there. Okay, well, I lost my other piece of paper I was going to use, so alright, I'll come up with something real quick. But see, what I'll do for this one here is I'm going to cut out a piece of paper to fit inside here for the roof. I'm just going to cut a small hole in it. So where's my little mechanical pencil at? Where did you go? Okay, you disappeared, so let's mark you with this. So what I'll do is I'll just line it up and make a quick mark on here. Yeah, you ain't working. There we go, that's better. Okay. And then mark one. I'm just rough eyeballing this just to give you guys an example of what it should be like. What I'll do is just take my trusty old scissors.
Are those S-scale structures you're working with?
Well, Bachman's Plasticville, the originals were really kind of O scale. They do make the same things in HO.
Yeah.
But the originals were O/S scale. They were somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. I need a little trim on it, but you get the point. You can fit this down in there and then just glue it in place. I cut it right here to set up on top of the wall. So now what we'll do is we'll just mark a tiny hole in the middle here. We have a little LED we'll put in there. I'm sure many of you know I'm a big fan of little nano type LEDs, the 0402s. There we go. Yeah, I'll show you my collection here. Yeah, so I buy these by the ton from Evans Design, and they come pre-wired resistors, color-coded wire. So, and they're all set up. They can run nicely off of 9 or so volts. So let's get one out here.
Well, that's like cheating, but
Yeah.
that's the only way to go if you've ever tried to solder an 0402.
I mean, I've watched plenty of videos from Laurie McLean down in Australia.
Yep.
He's definitely an elderly gentleman, but man, can he solder some tiny LEDs.
You better believe
he does some impressive stuff with animations and everything. So, all right, let's line this puppy up, and we'll just put a little bit of tape right there. hold it in place. Okay. And now we'll put it in our building once more. Now, normally when you put these kind of wood kits together, you would put some kind of like vertical wood in the corner. So it's pretty easy to use that to support your roof. All right. Touch my 9-volt battery here again. Let's see. Oh, wires are backwards. I always forget which one's what on these little LEDs here. There we go. Let's see if you cover the roof. There you go. Nice little easily lit building. Came out really nice. Now, obviously, you could put some, warm them up a little bit. You could put some Tamiya turn signal amber to warm the light up a little bit. I mean, looking here, it looks pretty warm when the light's coming out of the window. It's got the green tinge on the camera. This is actually a warm white LED. And it's really not very bright at all. But you can also put a bigger resistor to dim the LED some more. Make it a very nice light. And it's highly effective. It's more than you need for the structure like this. One simple bulb. With the windows that are in this thing, you could definitely do some interior details and look in there and see it very nicely. So it makes a great little project to put together.
Or even just some silhouettes.
Yeah.
I've seen some of these. I think it's Vector Art, Vector Graphics that's done some of these little cat silhouettes.
Yeah.
For illuminated buildings, you have a little cat sitting in the window.
Yeah.
There's a few
City
things.
Classics has a new thing that are photo backdrops that you put in your window, and it looks like a store. They're designed for different width buildings, but it looks like you see the counters or aisles down one side, you see the counter in the back, and it's just a photograph that you mount in there. So you can go on Google Images, photograph grocery store, get a picture, print it out on cardstock, put it on the back wall. I've showed that before where I did that megawatt transformer building on one of my videos. And that there had a 2-story interior. With one was a manufacturing floor, the other was an office space. Just use Google Image Search or Bing Image Search and find a picture of what you want, scale it out and print it onto paper, and it's nice and simple to do.
Absolutely. And I've seen, and Miles did some videos too on that. I know I've seen you talk about that several times too. Miles has done some videos on doing that, and I've seen the effects of it, especially for background buildings. It's incredible. But even for foreground buildings, you don't want to have to model all 74 tables in a cafe, for example. You could just put a picture up and put a couple
No, not
tables
at
in
all.
front.
You don't want to do that, actually, So that makes a real nice setup doing it with that.
And I found this jig you were talking about, by the way. I did not find it on
microluminaria. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, I didn't find it there. I looked for it over, of course. I looked here. They have a lot of the components, and I knew I'd seen that jig over there.
Yeah.
But at Model Tech Studios, they had this jig.
That's very similar to it. Yeah, theirs is made out of plastic, but yeah.
And then engineering sells. Oh, I lost that page. Engineering sells these little kits with a little jig as well, and they're very meticulous. These pictures are not easy to zoom in on, but it's quite small and well detailed.
If I'm right, the engineering one is the one that Microluminaria sells. A lot of their stuff is from engineering, I think.
Yeah, I like a lot of the things these guys have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful looking light. And just think, if you bought those lampshades and the tubing and cut the tubing, you could make pendant lamps that hang down in your house.
Oh yeah, okay, sure, yeah, and those would be quite popular in my era. So,
Well, now here's something else that I thought about, and I couldn't find what I wanted in time to do when I came up with the idea. But if you size this opening, let me bring my bench camera back up. Yeah, there's the jigs. So you can get street light and gooseneck lights in those little metal jigs.
oh, I see how that works. I like that better than this
Well,
arrangement.
this makes you one particular type.
Right, that's what I like, the flexibility.
Yeah.
You could.
So there's 4 different bending jigs that they make there.
And to think, if you buy the jig, it costs $20, but
Yeah, but you buy it once.
Right, but yeah, you buy it once, and you could build all this bunch of lights in the world for,
Yeah, because the
for
supply,
$10 or $15.
supply kits are cheap. But let me show. Well, you got that there. Let me show you something here real quick on my bench camera here. If you look at how I cut that opening there, if you cut that opening a little bit closer to size, what I was thinking of putting is a clear, especially if you had a darker ceiling, put a clear rod centered over the LED and sand it with like 600 grit sandpaper to frost it. And then it would look, and even if you put little pieces of white plastic on the end, it could look like a fluorescent tube.
Huh.
So that would definitely be something that you would could try out for doing interior lighting with too.
But if you're modeling modern, then you're definitely going to need to recreate fluorescent.
Oh,
I thought
absolutely.
about that with the microluminescent wire or the luminescent.
Yeah, electroluminescent wire. I was considering that too for neon lighting. It's better in bigger scale.
I plan on using it.
Yeah, Cool Neon sells their I think angel hair wire is about 1 millimeter. It's very tiny, 25th of an inch. So I bought the HO scale Mobius models Mel's Drive-In from American Graffiti. Yep. The thing is, I bought it just because one, it's a cool, well-known building. 2, it's got lighting possibilities out the ass. Think about it.
Oh, it's an exceptional structure.
All along the outside of the windows, there's sconces facing up that you could drill down in, put these little 0402s in. The roof is, neon tubing. So I don't know if the angel wire is small enough. But then inside it, as a full interior, you can make the lampshades, or you wouldn't even need to use those big metal shades, but make your own shades, out of something smaller, and use the little 0402s with a piece of tubing to put the lampshades over each table inside or over the counter. I mean, there's so many things you could do with it. Let me do something here real quick.
Yeah, it's a really exceptional kit. I've looked at that one several times too. I don't have an exact place for it, but it's one of those few things that, while it doesn't fit, I still want to build the thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of, and like that microluminescent or that microluminescent wire YouTube modeler Tory Bed Television.
Yes. Oh yeah.
He's a fascinating channel. He's such a funny character. And he covers some really, incredibly interesting things, but he had done a recreation of a neon sign that had some broken segments and everything.
Yes.
And it was, and he meticulous, fished it through and, and fed it through into the back, of course, like you would need to for neon. And it is a very good approximation of neon.
Yes, absolutely. Here's the kit I was telling you about. I bought one of these to play around with. Essentially, what you see here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit.
Oh, your screen share didn't come up yet.
Oh, it's in the feed. I'm displaying my desktop right now, so I don't need to do the screen share. It's actually going to the feed. But this is this metal bracket sign with a box in the center of this. Really pieces of styrene around the outside. The box is a frosted block of acrylic plastic, and embedded in one of the edges is one of these tiny LEDs. And then you put a decal over the surface of it, and it lights up the sign as you see in the picture here.
Wow.
So they're dirt easy to make. You know, he sells them for $16 a piece, and he has the various different signs with it. But you could do this with all, you know, a sign on a pole, sign on a building, you know, on one of these hanger brackets. I mean, this thing is a nice idea, and to go along with all the other lighting things that he sells. You know, he has. Let me zoom back out here.
That solves so many issues.
Oh yeah, like he has a basic structure lighting kit here, and this is $20, and it contains an assortment of LEDs with current limiters. It has wire, and then copper tape strips, which is a neat thing because you can take and use the black illustration board to use this for light blocks, but the copper strips are, I think, they're self-adhesive. You just lay them across your roof, solder 2 wires to one end, and then solder your LEDs across here where you want them. You know, it's actually pretty slick.
So you're using it like a wiring harness.
Yeah, exactly. You could use it as a bus structure. So, like if you had a series of lights going across your ceiling, like over top of a bar or something like that, like the counter, say, in the Mel's Drive-In, I could put 2 of these up on the ceiling, and the light would shine straight down from where I pointed at. But I want to try and do pendant type lights with these, so I'm going to use probably the like metal tubing, like from the type you would use to make the gooseneck lights with. So I think that would be a better idea.
Well, sure, and if you solder them and use the brass shades like that, if you've got one of your conductors, so your brass tube only has to be large enough to feed one other conductor.
Exactly.
Because you could ground it from the from the cathode.
Yeah, the one problem with buying the LEDs I got here, and after I bought them, I realized it, is that with the pre-wired resistor on here, anytime I want to feed this through something, I cut that little bugger off. So next time we order these, I probably won't order them with the resistor installed. But I like the fact that, they make these with 2 different color wires, so you can know which is your polarity if you ever remember it, because I keep forgetting it. But so let's go back to the bench camera here. Okay. Done. So we saw what we could do with this building here, right? So if we take a building like this one, this is 2 stories. So you could do what I did here and put the roof on. You can see the 4 corner posts holding the building up. I mean, realistically, I should have, since this was what came in the kit when we got these at the expo, that's what we used. But normally I would use something much thinner than that. I could use these posts here to hold the top of the roof down, or ceiling I should say, and put a light up there, and in the middle put another piece of cardboard for your lower floor and put a light there. And if you don't want anybody to see that, you could sandwich it between 2 thin pieces of poster board, and that way you won't be able to see the wiring or anything. Or you could use that copper tape and then solder your LED across that pointing down, and then run a wire down one of the front corners where people won't see. And then there's a little office over here you could put a light in. So you could use a little simple circuit to turn these lights on and off independent of each other, like toggle switches or whatever, or something like a pickaxe chip like we talked about before, to control the on-off lighting. You set up a simple timing program. Says, when they first come in for the day, they come in through the office here. This comes on first, and then you'll see the the warehouse light come on, and maybe the upper storage up here, because this is supposed to be a beverage company. So there's a lot of little possibilities with a structure like this for doing some really interesting lighting. And think about like a really big city building. You could put, between every floor, put these little LEDs. They're small enough that if you put a table lamp in, you could put one of those LEDs in the lamp, dim it down enough so that it would make, a nice small light. You just want to put the right size resistor. But
casts a believable shade. You have to bring it quite dim, but I've seen some 3D printed. I've been looking at interior details because I want to do interiors, and I've looked at some 3D printed table lamps that are small enough that you could, take a pin vise and drill out a hole and get an LED up, up in it enough that it could at least illuminate the lamp.
Exactly.
You don't expect it to illuminate the whole room. You'd still need a light above, but.
Yeah, well, think about it, because Lori uses these here to make a rather. Where's my battery at? Let's go here. See if this works.
Oh, and JD brought up a good point. The first issues of the magazine, January, March 2015, you and JD's articles on LED lights were in those magazines.
Yes.
So, and you remember, you could always go back and get those off the.
So you see this right here? Imagine a conductor with a lantern in his hand. Laurie McLean takes these in HO scale and puts a little styrene disc on the top and bottom, runs the wire through the hands of a conductor, and then actually
cuts the guy's arm off and puts it on a pin.
Yeah, and has it spinning. Well, I shouldn't say spinning, I should say swinging. We don't want him to go like he's winding up for baseball.
No, it's on our little rocker circuit, but his videos have went into great detail about how to do it. It's no, mystery.
No, it's really not. It's really not. So, I mean, to me, that makes perfect sense. So let's take a look at what we got. Anything interesting in the way of questions here for tonight. So, yeah, good. Got Redneck Railroad. Looking forward to the show. Let's see. Oh, we got.
And Dave asked about, since they only make that jig they make it in ZHO, I think TT, all those fairly small scales. Anybody that makes a jig, or what would it take to fabricate a jig for some of the larger scales? Like he's in, he's quarter-inch scale guy at O scale.
Well, I mean, literally, that's a block with holes drilled in it for the pins. I mean, you really could make it out of wood with dowels. Yeah, I mean, just you have to design your pattern and then put the pins. You might need to use, like, say, a half-inch dowel or whatever, but yeah, you could do that for sure. And here's our buddy Ron Perret. He says, I like to use manila folders for that kind of stuff. Can't beat that kind of scratch budding. And sure, yeah, I totally agree with that idea. Oh, there you go. That's a good comment you made there, Andy. A nice piece of small wire for the pull with those for shades.
Yeah, I got I'd made some shades before on the windows and had made some curtains, but I wanted that little piece of wire that's hanging below.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to get it on there, but it's a nice effect, and I can see it at least on up close structures. What's the Bill Van Litten asks? What's the smallest LED made? And they're downright microscopic.
Yeah,
so
this one, this one
LEDs.
here, Bill, that I was showing. Let's see if I can bring it up to the camera where you can see it. It's probably not focus. Okay, which side is it on? There we go. That is 4 thousandths by 2 thousandths. It's called an 0402 LED. It's one of the smallest I know that you can buy for hobby use. Like I said, this is small enough to be used as a you know, a hand lantern for a conductor on a caboose or something. They make really in larger scales. You know what it's really cool for. If you put that into the headlight of a locomotive and set it in place with some clear Aleene's tacky gel, it makes a really interesting headlight because it looks like a bulb filament in there. So it really comes up very nice. Because as you saw when I had it lit up, just how tiny it looks. So let's bring her up here. One of these times I'll remember which wires which.
There's some real creative. I had thought about using that the smallest LED to kind of recreate that filament effect.
Yeah, because what I did that on an HO scale, Shay, because they had a big bulb filling it up. So what I did is I pulled the bulb out because it had heavy wires. I took it and pulled it out, and I put this in from the back, taped it down on my bench, and then taped the headlight down so it all held in place with the lens facing up. Since it was now all hollow, I just put a small drop of Aleene's clear tacky gel in there to hold it in place, let it sit overnight. And then when I lit it up, especially if you put a big enough resistor to dim it some, it looks like a bulb filament because it's so tiny compared to even an HO scale headlight. So what I did then is fill the rest with tacky gel. And it worked out very well. I mean, the guy, I did like 3 of them for a guy with sound installs, and he loved them. So I can't say enough about these things. And I used these to do marker lights on one of my HO engines. It was a PRR E6 Atlantic. It had a big plastic piece in the front that lit the headlamp, lit the marker lights, and they were all clear plastic. So I glued them into the side of the boiler, cut it away, and then used clear tacky gel to glue those things right here up against the back side of the lamp. And then it lit them up beautifully. Now, you can take an HO scale marker light and drill it out and put these right inside of it. You know, and then put colored lenses in it, and you got beautiful lighting.
And here's a good reference. I pulled the second episode or the second edition of the eBay guide. It has a really good picture.
There you go. Yeah, that's the article that I wrote with JD. Yeah.
It shows how small that 0402 is. I mean, that's something.
Yeah, the 0603, the next one up, is really a good general purpose for big lighting. I mean, that's a much more common size. I just like using the 0402s because, I mean, when you buy them that way, if you spend enough money, I think you have to spend around $200. They give you a 40% discount. So what Mike and I did is we ordered a whole bunch at once and split the bill and mixed them up. We got a few colored ones and stuff, and they did them they ended up being like $1.14 a piece, all soldered together, ready to go with the resistor. So we could have had it with the resistor included, just not soldered in, which probably next time I'll order some. But I mean, this LED is so tiny that, you know, I could actually go ahead and like right beside the door here, put a little casting of a little tiny wall mounted light and put that inside of it, and it would look just like it, the real thing. You know, they're so versatile. It's not funny. Like I said, if you put a little table lamp right inside the window there, and you could light it up under a solid shade or something that would cast the light down. I mean, they're as useful and as wonderful of an LED as I could possibly imagine. Everybody likes the big 3mm and 2mm. They're good for certain things. This stuff, smaller to me, is better. It looks much more realistic, you know. So
Well, I mean, I think you're more at a risk of over lighting a structure than you are at under lighting a structure.
Yes.
You know, people don't live in houses that are illuminated like a movie set. They're, you know, we massively overlight. Me and Barry were talking about that prior to the show, how much light we've got to get to make the cameras look fairly good for camera view. But think about what your living room, how it's illuminated, or your bedroom is illuminated under normal circumstances. You don't need much light. You just need it in the right places so that it looks prototypical.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you'll hear these things like Ron just mentioned. I think they call them Nano LEDs. Some people call them Pico LEDs. Even Bill Van Lenten mentioned yeah, that would make a great headlight for an N-scale steam engine. And they actually make nice HO lights for like even diesels because I said little dot of clear tacky gel on the back of the clear lens and stick that in it pointing outwards, and you could put two of them in there and let the plastic lens be the light, not the LED itself. It doesn't have that big round bulb honking out the front of it because the lens on a locomotive light is usually flat. So that allows you to keep the clear plastic that's already in there and use that. They would be great for backlighting number boards because they take up no space.
Well, that was my gut instinct when you were talking about that, which kind of excited my, creative juices flowing for a moment about the idea of using one to create the look of the individual filament. If you used a large LED in the back over a piece of light piping material, a piece of acrylic, and then stuck that little LED right in the center so that you're illuminating both.
Yeah.
But the job of actually producing light that comes out onto your track work, especially if you like night operation, you need a big LED to put that light out.
Yeah.
But if you use a small LED in the center, when you're up close and looking at it, you still see the look of a filament.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, I mean, even in like O scale, this would probably look really interesting in the lamp. I mean, you could probably even go with an 06, 03 or an 08, 04 for that, So, but yeah, everybody, don't forget to reference the EMAG article we did way back on the beginning of the EMAG about the LED lighting for all this because, I mean, EMAG's been a great resource for going over 2 years now. It's been wonderful, for our community, and JD and his crew keep producing more and more great content all the time. So
I just can't understand where he finds time to sleep.
I haven't figured that far. I think he's got a clone somewhere myself.
I agree. I mean, I write with him every other month, and he always spends a lot of time. He wears me out.
We pulled one of those late nighters like you did when we edited that LED article. Because
he does that a lot. Well, he does it with all kinds of people.
I'm no author. He's much better at it than I am, so he just makes this all sound great, and love him for it.
You better believe it. That's.
Well, folks, I hope everybody learned some interesting stuff tonight. One of the next tech shows, like I said, we're going to take one of these buildings, maybe, pull my camera back up here. Like say, this one has got multiple rooms in it, and put the lights in it, and then show you how to set up say a pickaxe to control 3 individual lights or 4 or whatever it would take in a building like this. And if I can find that dang kit that I bought from Bill Sartor, I'll show you guys how to make some goosenecks as well. But yeah, we're interested in doing the tech side of this to go in concert with the fine scale build. So when everybody's building their building, you can give some thought to lighting your building, exterior and interior. So I wish I could have found that kit we showed you. But I guarantee if I have to go buy one up at Amherst, I'll buy one when I'm up there this weekend. Just so we have it. And that way I can show you how to take a structure like this, light it up. And even this one, because this one this has got an extended roof and it's columns to be a gas station. So there will be lights under the awning, light in the office. So I'll have to pick one. And
and the light is a great detail focuser, to control people's attention and where they look and to present the light in a particular light. But the animation of light is one of the few areas, in my personal opinion, where you can create life on a layout that is basically a diorama with moving trains.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I kind of disparage about this hobby is that only the trains move. I want more animation and more life without, getting
at some point
HD
we'll have to touch on animation. I mean, something simple like show someone how to animate, like use a servo to animate a crossing gate, like a water spout for a tank for a water tank for a steam engine, etc. There's a lot of stuff we.
I've got water tanks with the spouts and everything already set on a pivot. And I've got the water tanks hauled out. They're wood structures designed for, but I just haven't built the.
Well, there you go. That's something we can work on together, doing a little bit of animation.
I'd love to, and I've got a couple of them because I've got to build two. One of them has a spout on each side. But I've got them already assembled and ready to go. I just need to sit down and spend some time with an Arduino and a servo.
Yeah, I got. That's what
I've got all that.
I got to sit down and prep up these buildings where I can use them to do more work. I have the one here. I have the windows downstairs, and I want to show. Probably I'll do it when we're doing the fine scale build. I'm going to show everybody what I have to go get some to use the stuff I use to make the window glass with. It's called gallery glass.
Gallery glass, is that from? Who's that from?
You can get it like Dick Blick Art Supply and stuff like that. It's like a white glue. You put it in the window and it fills in the window and let it dry. It is crystal clear. It looks like ripple glass, my friend. It's beautiful.
It actually looks quite dated, like the way hand blown glass used to look.
Like I said, it has that ripple glass look to it. So.
Right, and I love that look. But I've got some microscope tiles. And even better, I've got the surface, the cat glass that I'm interested in using. But I found a vendor, a model railroad vendor that sells small pieces of glass, but even better, they sell a cutter for it that is more like a retractable, like if you know what a retractable X-Acto looks like. It has that really small.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got, so you could cut these correctly sized sheets of real glass. So I'm going to do that.
Hey, check this out. Dave just said, let's do this animation, Andy. Count me in. Nice. And Ron?
Yeah, I'm all over it too. Now, some of it is a little animatronic for now. It's going to take a few years of that animatronics to actually get the good realism out of it. And I've watched Laura down there in Australia for a few years, and he's got nothing but just better and better and better at it. But there's still some of it that's it's still a little folky. But
it fits.
But it's getting better.
It fits with his theme. Being his theme is narrow gauge, back, Wild West type old days. It really does fit with his theme. It works very well for him, I think.
Absolutely.
But you're right.
It's hard to recreate
for even like I say a transition era layout. It's a little kitschy, but
that's my gut feeling too.
A working water spout really wouldn't be, but some of the other things might be. Like a child swing set that moves wouldn't be. That would work nicely.
You could do that quite realistically. And really, I want to do the automobiles. I want a road system.
I do too. I have a small area in my layout plan that a follower car system would be.
But I'm going to build part of it. I mean, I'm going to buy the mechanics of the people who are building these HSRC cars. I'm going to build the mechanics of it and put the wire, the embedded wire in. But the control system is what, to make them stop and stuff like that's quite expensive.
Yeah.
I want to, I'm researching using an Arduino to push that magnet.
Yeah, it's really sensors and everything like that. So, you certainly could do that.
It's quite simple because all they do is put a reed switch on the bottom of it, which I'm using reed switches to throw my turnouts too.
Yeah.
But it's just a reed switch. So when the car gets over the reed switch, it cuts the power.
Yeah.
So, but you need a servo to push the magnet up or an electromagnet.
Yeah.
and the control system for it. So my thinking is, a few Arduinos and a few late nights, and I'll get the
Yeah,
cost,
exactly. Yeah,
and I'll get the cost of the faller system down to where it's actually doable.
exactly. Okay, yeah. Bill Van Letten here even commented pickaxe is his favorite for signaling, and yeah, I'm going to investigate what I can do with signaling with that too.
I've heard Bill talk about that. I'm interested in the idea of a pickaxe for that, but you still need something. And I'd love to hear your take on that too. Is that you can signal a pickaxe to control it.
Yeah.
So you could have an Arduino and 74 pickaxes. That Arduino could say, "Hey, pickaxe, start your loop." That's entirely
Yeah,
possible.
I mean, I think just doing the more advanced stuff where there's triggers and stuff, you can do triggering with it. So that might be a possibility down the road. I've seen program code to do it. So, but most of it's once you trigger it on, it stays in that condition for so long, then sets the next condition. So. I mean, to do a true interactive signaling system, it might take some work with a pickaxe. You might be better off with an Arduino, because I've seen plans for there's a book for Arduinos and model railroading that talks about a signal system. So,
well, they have their own niche. I'm absolutely pro pickaxe. I absolutely.
yeah,
but I'm also quite pro Arduino.
I'm
quite pro Raspberry
yeah.
Pi. It just depends on the task.
Yeah, exactly. And on some of the more complicated tasks, Arduino is definitely the way to do it. Pickaxe
for a lot of things.
Okay, for something like this, like you said, pickaxe, a bunch of pickaxes for your building, because you can buy the cheap proto board and build these circuits for next to nothing. Chips cost you a few dollars a piece in like low quantity. You buy a bunch of the 08 M2s from China for next to nothing. So
right, and especially if you're building modules, or you are not using something like a fast clock with your JMRI to drive the lighting of your structures. I want, when you're standing and looking at the town or where the little houses are, I want bedroom lights to come on at 3 o'clock as the guys wake up. I want fast clock. If you don't want that, then there's no point in going all the way to Arduino unless you want that level of control, because it's more expensive, et cetera, et cetera.
At that point,
pickaxe is the right
could
job.
Use like a 28 M2 pickaxe to drive a whole bunch of other pickaxe modules and have it have the timing code to trigger them randomly. So,
well, I would love to do something about it's networking, essentially.
It's probably something like
you're interfacing units together, Arduino or otherwise. And there's multiple technologies for doing that.
Yeah.
You could use JMRI as a central hub, or you could use the serial interconnects like SPI or I2C. Yeah. And they're simple. They're 2 wires.
Yeah, exactly. A simple serial bus, basically.
Yeah, and they're just a piece of cheap telephone wire run all over your layout. Not 78 wires run all over your layout back to a central control panel. But you pull a telephone wire around there and have a pickaxe in the base of all your structures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I may do that and use the Arduino to interface it with the fast clock, but actually use the pickaxe to actually drive the LED.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Because having an Arduino directly drive the LEDs, it's kind of overkill. Where
it's size. It's not just cost. Cost can't be the only reason. Regardless, it's not just cost, but it's the size of the pickaxe
and the code. It's the code for your Arduino to run that many lights. It's a handful. If you have 3 lights in your building, it's a handful of code to turn one on and the other on and the other on in sequence with different times. It's a few lines of code, a few blocks in Blockly. But the code to do that for 1,000 LEDs in your layout with one Arduino, which you could do, is massive code. So why not let it say, turn on this module, turn on that module? Now you've cut the number of modules down by 50% or more. So it's
well, you're doing a more decentralized thing, so it's easier to add additional structures on without having to go back to your Arduino and restructure the code for additional lights. And then also, I have structures that will have 9, 10, 20 plus lights in them. And the idea of just pulling a single serial bus or with a little voltage to it, and just sending a signal to that and putting a pickaxe in the base. And while the Arduino Nanos are quite small, the pickaxe will fit in a in a little in an HL scale outhouse.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. Because all you got to do is provide it with 5 volts. You need 2 resistors and, something to drive your LED with, and that's it. So it's not bad. All right, folks. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending and their great comments and everything. Andy, my friend, as always, thank you for coming along and adding to the mayhem. So before we end for the night, folks, just wanted to remind everybody that we are YouTube Model Builders, your source for free model railroad resources. We have the online e-magazine that JD, Mr. Logan Locos, puts out. It just came out. We have our Tuesday and Thursday night live chat presentation hangouts. And we have once a month, we have the YouTube Model Builders Live that was just this past Saturday with Bill and myself and Brian Burke. And then we also have now the Wednesday night hangouts with Chris Healy of MRL Trains for the brand new Arduino workshop series. So everybody works along with Chris. And when we pick up in the future with some pickaxe lighting circuits and everything, all of us will be able to program and light our entire layout, all the buildings with it. So I hope everybody enjoyed. Everybody have a nice night. We will see you real soon with the fine scale build coming up. All right? Everybody take care. Good night.